Hi, and thanks for watching this short video on the Burn Model System Online Data Dictionary. This is a Burn Model System National Data and Statistical Center webinar, and my name is Kara McMillan. I'm the project manager of the BMS NDSC. We have other webinars about the BMS, including a two-part series on accessing and using the Burn Model System database, information on confounders and analyses, outcome measures in the BMS, and more. They're available at the website you see on your screen. In this webinar, I'll give just a really brief introduction to the BMS for people who don't know much about what we do, and I'll talk about how to use the BMS Online Data Dictionary. The BMS is funded by the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research, or NIDLR. The BMS program seeks to improve care and outcomes for people with burn injury. The research programs occur at clinical burn centers across the United States, which provide a coordinated and multidisciplinary system of care. Each BMS center also conducts research and contributes data to the BMS National Database. The National Database is a prospective, longitudinal, multi-center research study that examines health, functional, and psychosocial outcomes after burn injury by surveying people who have had a moderate to severe burn injury, including both adults and children. For more information, watch the first webinar in this series, which provides a more detailed introduction to the BMS and the BMS National Database. It's available at the website you see on your screen. The BMS is a rich resource and has many data points in it. There are individual questions about patient demographics, such as age and sex. There's also pre-injury history, cause and injury characteristics, such as total body surface area burned, etiology of injury, and more. There's also treatment-related variables, hospital discharge-related variables, employment, school status before and after burn injury. And we also collect many standardized multi-item measures, which are patient-reported outcome measures. These collect data on things like pain, itch, depression, PTSD, sleep problems, fatigue, and health indicators such as physical function, satisfaction with life, and social health. Data is collected at discharge from acute burn injury, 6 months, 12 months, and 24 months after injury, and then every 5 years after injury for the lifespan of the BMS participant. Data is collected from the medical record and from self-report. Self-report data is collected using in-person or over-the-phone interviews, iPads or tablets in the clinic, mailed or paper and pencil surveys, and online surveys. Data is collected in English and Spanish. Today I'm going to talk about the Online Data Dictionary. To access the Online Data Dictionary, go to the page you see on your screen. This will take you to a landing page that has information on the BMS data collection that goes more in depth than what I'm providing today. Then, to access the Data Dictionary, click on that Data Dictionary Explorer tab that you see below on your screen. This brings you to the front page of the Online Data Dictionary. The Online Data Dictionary is searchable by either domain or variable. There are commonly used variables, which include 15 of the most requested variables. You can get to that group by selecting Commonly Used Variables under the Narrow by Group or Domain Search function. You can also toggle off and on the Including Archived Variables toggle that you see at the top of your screen here. If you toggle it on, all data will be available, including those variables that haven't been collected in some time. You can see here that we have a email address that you can use at any time if you have any questions or comments. In addition to the commonly used variables, there are other pre-selected categories, such as what you see on your screen here, which is the burn variables category. This includes things like amputation due to burn, burn year, circumstances of injury, and more. You can get to this group by selecting the burn variables under the pre-grouped categories of Narrow by Group or Domain Search function. When you click on one of these groups, you'll see an overview of the group, which shows a list of all the variables that are in that group, including variable name, the type of variable, the domain, the time point, and the age that that variable is administered to. Next, I'm going to show you what information is available for each data point. In this example on your screen, which is circumstances of injury, you'll see that in purple, this is grouped in the burn injury pre-selected group. This is circumstances of injury, and it appears on the medical record abstraction form. The full item text is circumstances of injury. It's collected at discharge, as you can see on the data collection time point, and it's collected for all ages. Below, down here, you can see the code for the variable. I'll talk a little bit more in depth about each of these information in a little bit. As I mentioned earlier, the BMS collects both self-report and medical record review data. In the data dictionary, you can tell whether something is collected by self-report or medical record review a couple of ways. The first way is through the instrument. When data is collected through a review of the medical record by BMS staff, the data dictionary notes that the item was collected that way by showing that it's on the medical record abstraction form instrument, as you can see on the circumstances of injury example we're looking at. Because the BMS has been in place since 1994, the data collected has changed over time. You want to pay close attention to the dates of the variables you are interested in. For example, this was collected starting in 1994. The stop date will only appear when the data is archived. But when you do look at archived data, you want to pay close attention to the stop date because it will show you how long the data was collected for and might give you an idea of whether there will be a lot of data for that variable if it was collected for 20 or 30 years, or if it was collected for a very short amount of time. Here's another detailed look at the variable and field name. In this example, we're looking at the variable named employee, which is in the demographics domain. The variable or field name is the name of the variable as it appears in the actual data set. In this example, this instrument is the pre-injury demographics, which are collected from a participant at the time of discharge, but with a pre-injury recall period. Here's another detailed look at a few of the items in the data dictionary. In this example, you see the full item text and what ages it's collected for. The full item text tells you in more detail about the variable and what it is on the actual survey that the participants receive. If the variable is from a standardized measure, you will find that information here, including the item number from the measure, if it's question 1, 2, 3, etc. The data dictionary also shows you what ages a variable is collected for. For example, if the variable was administered only to adults, only to children, to adult on behalf of a child, or for all participants, such as the case of a variable like age, sex, race and ethnicity, or the medical record abstraction information such as total body surface area burn size. The data dictionary also shows you the coding of variables. The coding is the actual response options given to a participant and how they're coded in a data set. For example, on this item that you see here in the example on your screen, if there's a 3 in the data set in a particular row for a particular item, in this case, that 3 would mean 5 or more times a week or almost always. The data dictionary also shows time point administered and operational definition. The time point administered indicates if the variable is collected at discharge or follow-up or both, and the operational definition provides more information about that variable. It also includes, as I mentioned earlier, start and stop dates. When an archived variable is looked at in the data dictionary, you can see that it's archived by the orange block that shows that it is an archived variable. You can also tell when something's archived when it has a stop date. Stop dates only appear for archived variables. There's also coding notes in the data dictionary. Coding notes is information about a variable above and beyond other information provided by the other categories I've been looking at. For example, in this case, which we're looking at pain int t-score, the variable name, which is the pain interference t-score from the PROMIS 29, The field tells you if the variable is generated by the data center by scoring sets of items or recoding items. So in this example, you'll see that the coding notes show that this is a calculated score, it has a 0 to 100 scale, and that a higher score indicates higher pain interference. This has been just a brief introduction to the BMS Data Dictionary. If you go to the website you see on your screen, you'll be able to explore all of the information that's available in the Data Dictionary and all of the data that is in the BMS National Database. It's a rich resource for people interested in long-term outcomes after burn injury. Like I mentioned previously, we do have more information about the BMS if you're interested and don't know much and would like to know more about how we collect data, what measures we administer, and accessing the BMS data. It's available for free to the public for people who are interested in utilizing the data, so be sure to check out our other webinars. Thanks.